Hi, everybody. This is day 1963 days since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss in El Paso, Texas. And he was taken to the arms room in the same building because it's a soundproof room, and his life was taken from him. He fought like hell. We have information that one of the perpetrators had to have emergency dental work done because Richard bashed in his mouth in his self defense. Um, but his life was taken from him brutally. And the other information that we is that his body was stolen. They dismembered it, and partial remains were trafficked um, over the border into Mexico, and maybe it was full at that time, and they did the dismembering over in Mexico. Um, but that his remains, partial remains, are were disposed of at the Plenitude Crematorium, where they just discovered 400 rotting, rat-infested, maggot-infested bodies, over 400, bones. And these bodies were being recycled. Why else would a funeral crematorium commit such a fraud, tamper with hundreds of death certificates and other death documents? Why would they do that and give construction material, pulverized construction material in urns back to the families, and want to keep um, the corpses? Why would they want to commit such a sacrilege, right? Well, because of humanitarian aid for unidentified migrants, recycling these bodies through the 7 funeral homes. There's more because these are all connected. It's all connected. Um, recycling these bodies to cash in. That's what our evidence is absolutely showing what was happening, and may still be happening. And of course, there were also victims of the cartel activity. This is a narco crematorium. It has now been connected and is confirmed to be a narco crematorium because it's connected to Martha Mendez Aguilar, the La Diabla, the she devil, who was targeting young pregnant women, pregnancy crisis women, and promising them jobs and um, a cheap C-section. Don't go for cheap C-sections, y'all. These were done by 16, 17-year-old girls doing these C-sections. If the baby survived, the baby was then marketed to the homosexual community in the United States. They were being targeted with this activity. And then the mother's body would be harvested for organs, and of course, the shell of the poor mother would be disposed of, and the likes of Plenitude Crematorium. Plenitude Crematorium's ownership, Rosa Maria Purchase, Arliano Curan, um, and her son Rafael and Jose, her family. This is a family business with property right next to Beto O'Rourke, house property right next to Beto O'Rourke. And there is no coincidence in this that Martha Mendez Aguilar, the she devil family, was also employed by Beto O'Rourke, um, his company. So, this is also goes to Ricardo Samaniego, the county judge, which he doesn't have a law degree, and county judge is really not a good name for this coordinator, this facilitator, or whatever you want to call him. I would call him criminal. I call him criminal because he was fine dining with Rafael Arellano Caron. Um, and of course, Rafael Arellano Caron's wife, right next to Beto O'Rourke, has a senior position there with the city magazine, the same city magazine that was keeping it from the public about the Chan brothers being Fit Fam El Paso. Um, so, keeping that a secret, right? Keeping that a secret, saying, oh, they have to be a secret. No one can know that they're military, that they're in uniform running this Fit Fam El Paso, and their uniform comes with security clearances, right? It's so criminal. The whole thing is all so criminal. And and it's there's no coincidence in this. This is organized crime. This is cartel tied organized crime. This is a Mormon faction cartel tied organized crime. And they're in the business of smuggling organs, harvesting organs, adopting out babies that were taken in such a way as the she devil took the baby, and the organs the same way. People want corneas, people want kidneys. This is their business, a very illegal criminal business, criminal way of doing things. And of course, that comes with, if they're going to put hell on earth, like that indicates. Of course, they were engaged in all kinds of trafficking, right? All kinds of trafficking, including the children. And this comes up now with the breaking news that John Bolton, um, with all his national security access, has now been indicted on 18 counts, felony counts, of transmitting, and I think 10 counts of, or 8 counts of transmitting, and 10 counts of receiving classified information. And I hope he gets it full. Like, I really hope he gets it full. We've been watching this for a long time, many years. And of course, who is his buddy, who is his ally in all of this, is John Kelly. And also, what's the Kelly, the astronaut, the, wannabe, I guess, Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly. So John Kelly, the Marine General John Kelly, yes, that 4-star general, that SOUTHCOM general, SOUTHCOM dealing with all the way down to Panama, right? All the way down to Panama, um, Mexico, of course, and but John Bolton, um, good buddies with John Kelly's as far as allies and supporting, always putting out a good word. The two of them back each other up, and now they're backing up Mark Kelly. Mark Kelly clearly with his instigating mutiny, insurrection, um, with his participation in that TikTok thing about, disobey illegal orders. Um, it was a huge no-no, a really big no-no. And it looks like, there will be a court-martial. I mean, that's what's being talked about. And we hope there's going to be a court-martial, because I'd like the court-martial of Sean Bernabe. I'd like the court-martial of General Mealy and General McConville and Lieutenant General Donna Martin. Absolutely. They need to be court-martialed, and the highest form of penalty needs to be on the table for what they've done. It's just absolutely treasonous what they've done. And so going back to John Kelly, that John Kelly, the Marine, the Gold Star father, John Kelly, right? The Gold Star father up to no good. The Gold Star father up to no good. Not, not up to par, not up to speed, not with the best interests of the country in his mind, not at all, not following his duty, his oath. No, and he was SOUTHCOM, and he was also in President Trump's administration and up to no good in President Trump's administration, the first time around. And it went so badly that President Trump had to separate ways with him, separate ways. He was then let go. And when he walked away from the White House, it was just too, uh, uh, it was too into the arms of Maru Campos, right? Into her administration. He General John Kelly, we are told, was recommended by Woody Hunt of El Paso, the big businessman, the big businessman. He has planes too. And with Paul Foster, another big businessman, he has unique planes too, and Alejandra de la Vega Foster, of course, with very unique planes too. Um, these business uh, this business team, they all recommended John Kelly to Maru Campos. Okay, so I guess they have a relationship with this narco governor. That is way up to no good, right? I mean, she's part of Plenitude Crematorium, narco crematorium, with over 400 rotting, rat infested, um, um, maggot infested corpses. That's Maru Campos. Also, she's caught up in the scam of millions and millions of um, of dollars in bribe money from Cesar Duarte, the former governor, who put her there. So there's definitely pay for play there. And then, of course, um, in our son's case, tampering with the files. So Plenitude, absolutely part of that whole Plenitude crematorium because her mother was the oversight and, giving the permits and everything, and absolutely letting them operate, no, illegally. So this is very clear. Um, Tampering with the investigation into Richard Halliday has always been their goal. And because they want to stop it, right? They want to stop it. And this comes to the whole Charlie Kirk thing. It's the same pattern. They want to stop the investigation, the independent investigations into Charlie Kirk's assassination. And so we're seeing the same play in the Charlie Kirk's aftermath of him being executed. We're seeing the aftermath of that, and it reminds us of the same play over and over again. Um, and so, it's been a long day, y'all. We we had amazing progress today, and it was a very long it was amazing progress and a lot of filing, and a lot of discussion with very important people. And yeah, it's incredible what you have to do to drive the system to do the right thing, right? We cannot be like what Charles Dickens said, that the darkness is cheap and Scrooge liked it. we cannot be like Scrooge, right? Where they like the darkness. They want to sit in the darkness. No, we want to be in the light, and Christmas is all about light. And we are absolutely bringing light to everything that we discover in this case. We haven't held back for anything. And I'm going to tell you something. Richard looks really, really good. He's like a superstar. He is a stellar soldier. He is a total hero. And it is just something to uh, uh, just amazing that I believe that it's so important what he has done that he will have like a statue one day, like this humongous statue of him somewhere, probably right there in the middle of El Paso. I mean, it's so important what he did, what he stood for, that his name is indelible. And so I really appreciate that from President Trump. His designation of the cartels as FTOs on day one, and then, of course, in 4 days after that, the in the line of duty designation for our son Richard. It just very, very heartening to see this attempt at this system that has been slowly infiltrated. And it has been slowly infiltrated, except for the Biden years. It kind of went turbo force, didn't it? But part of that infiltration is judges and also prosecutors. Okay, you have prosecutors on the state level and prosecutors on the federal level. And this is why you see such a stalling of accountability. It's very clear that there is like mutinous behavior, insurrectionist behavior, and it's coming from both the Democrats and the Republicans, not counting President Trump's. Not counting President Trump. I mean, he's just, he was the one being retaliated against. He absolutely understands the level of crime, of weaponization of our justice system, of our law enforcement system, of our system, the voting system. He absolutely understands that, and we. Through this, I don't know if we would understand it as well as we do without having to go through these 5.5 years of investigative work. But because we have day in and day out investigated this and really looked at all the stories and took our um, red pen to it, and checked and double checked and triple checked. We can tell you right now that President Trump was just totally targeted. I think the number one target was God and the city of God, the Trinity, Christianity, and even Meathead, right? Rob Reiner. And I'm sorry, I come from that all in the family time period where that's how we knew him. We knew Reiner by his name, Meathead, right? And Rob Reiner even said in an interview not too long ago that he thinks this is the rise of Christian nationalism, and it was scary. This, so the attacks, his attacks were on Christian nationalism, right? And he sees President Trump as really the leader of that movement of Christian nationalism. Um, you know, putting the fight back into Christianity, Christians, period. Putting the fight back into Christians, saying, Christians, it's okay to stand up. We don't have to be, little flowers, right? And let these progressive, I hate the word use progress, I should say woke, the woke, to just trample over our traditions, trample over our right for to worship, in the faith that we choose, being Christianity, and to uphold the morals that come with our faith, right? The Ten Commandments, the sacraments, um, eh, absolutely the creeds that outline the faith, especially the Trinity, how we see the maker of all things and our Redeemer. Also, the Holy Spirit, the law word that absolutely whispers everywhere. Um, that is one God, right? And that was really the target. And after that, it was President Trump. It was absolutely President Trump because Rob Reiner saw him as like I would say I call President Trump, to me, President Trump is like Robert the Bruce. Okay. He's like Robert the Bruce. Of course, he owns Turnberry, the birthplace of Robert the Bruce. Robert the Bruce is like the original Spider-Man. Everyone knows that in Scotland that, you wear a kilt that's a Robert the Bruce kilt. Inside of it would be embroidered a spider because that it was the inspiration of Robert the Bruce when he felt totally defeated by the power of the big bad British, well, the English at the time. Um, and here, Robert Bruce, of course, betrayed William Wallace, and he thought for all the right reasons to negotiate with the English. And William Wallace was huge. I think he was almost 7 feet tall. I know his sword was 6 feet long. And here, so it wasn't an easy thing to take William Wallace, Braveheart. But um, Robert the Bruce, as I understand it, absolutely got his lesson. God gave him a lesson through the spider to never ever give up. And isn't that what President Trump always says? Never ever give up. Fight, fight, fight. Never ever give up. Always fight for the glory of God. Always fight for what is right. Oh, never ever give up. And this is Robert the Bruce. And of course, a direct descendant of Robert the Bruce is Robert E. Lee. Robert E. Lee is probably the most blue blood leader that the United States has ever had. And that's because he was a direct descendant of Robert the Bruce of Scotland. And that just tells you why, that fighting spirit for what is right, for what is good, for what is selfless, for the nation, for Virginia. Remember, Robert E. Lee felt loyal to Virginia, even though New York, which was like the capital of the United States, was wanting to pay him big money to be the general for the Union, and he said, "No, I'm loyal to Virginia. I have to stay with Virginia." So, you know, eh, this is really, you see this with President Trump. He embodies that spirit of Robert the Bruce. Was Robert the Bruce perfect? No, he was the Spider Man. He never gave up. He never ever gives up. And I think that President Trump absolutely embodies the never give up spirit. And it's just been such a good example for Christians who we have been bombarded with some bad theology, I think, or doctrine, some bad doctrine, that we're just supposed to wait, instead of engage and fight for the glory of God, and not let things like what happened to Rob Reiner happen to us. And too many of us have suffered through that, right? Because of this woke policies, these woke policies that, of course, California has embraced and enables. this drug addiction, all of these problems that really end up in a very, very violent act. And you can't get more violent. Matter of fact, the FBI, when I looked up how many uh, uh, of a son against the parents, how many of those happen? And it's like, that just doesn't happen, right? That just doesn't happen. This is why, of course, we have um, Rhode Island, the school there, the shooting that everybody's talking about, and then we have, of course, I think it's in Georgia and Savannah, another killing that people are talking about. But then you have this Rob Reiner situation that uh, it is just big news. It's big news because, not because it's a Hollywood, right? But it is important to know that they're very wealthy. They have everything, but they didn't have, they didn't have God, right? They didn't have God, and they didn't. So they weren't happy, right? It didn't bring them prosperity in a sense of real life gold, right? It's just monetary, right? It's just very shallow type of prosperity, and they suffered. The sons uh, decided to take in his own hands the most violent crime ever. I mean, it's so nihilistic, because, but it's what Rob Reiner was teaching, right? That, you can become as God and decide for yourself what is truth, what is right, what is wrong. And if I don't like you, then I can just take up a dagger, right? I can just go. And to do that to your parents, God, that is like such a crime. It is such, it's such a crime. And so it's going to be very interesting. People want to know, after, he's homeless and he's on drugs and he has mental health issues and he's been through rehab like 17, 18 times. And then he just cracks, right? And wants to not quietly or whatever. I mean, this is a bloody, bloody, bloody murder, and it's right across the throat, and then multiple stabs. So you're talking, it is just really very, very violent, a very violent end. Um, uh, in the woke ideology, right? And that's where it ends up. And this is what Richard also was reporting on. This, I think, these people think they're God. They could just traffic people. They could just steal weapons and ship them out in truckloads, and they could steal fuel. They could, and they think that they are like gods because they have the DA's office, because they have the AG's office, because they have the federal courthouse, somebody in there. They have the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court under their thumb. They have the sheriff under their thumb. They have the police under their thumb. So, we can just do what we want. Our will be done. Heck with God, right? That's, and Richard um, reported it. Richard reported it, and they just like, what? How can someone challenge us, right? How can this 20-year-old challenge us, right? We're the kings, we're gods, and this is from this whole Mormon. Their belief system is that humans can become gods, right? They can have this nihilistic worldview, where they can take life if they want to, and they can manipulate whatever is out there, whatever. Um, institution, whatever um, uh, uh, they could bodies they can manipulate because they don't believe in creation by ex nihilo, right? God is someone that takes what is there and manipulates it for their purpose. And so this is where, I had to 2 nights ago, I believe it was 2 nights ago, put in this, and I don't know if I do it justice, but give you that foundation, those presuppositions to understand what is going on here, that people can act in such a way, be such traitors, be so selfish, bring hell on earth, and that they are not being held accountable, right? Because we have this infiltration that's been happening over a long time, but that we can't just say it can be like this, right? We just have to deal with it. No, it cannot. It will get worse and worse and worse. We cannot let this stand. We need to get back to our ideology that says we are, uh, humble servants of a moral code, the 10 Commandments, the sacraments. And that's what brings us joy. That's what brings us an understanding um, of what real joy is, because and peace and freedom and everything good. That's where the blessings come from, is this first act of selflessness and service to God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Ghost, one God in three, right? And some people might want to argue with that, but that is where I stand. That is where my joy is. That is where I see the answers. And that is where the accountability is, because if you believe that there is one lawgiver, right? One lawgiver, one law, and that those come, some of them, not all of them, many of them don't come with any penalty at all. You get a tattoo. God says, okay, you get a tattoo. You should not get a tattoo, but there's no penalty for getting a tattoo, right? Um, but he says, don't get a tattoo, right? So that's always been like, okay, well, so if someone gets one, what do you do? Well, there's no penalty for it. But if you murder, there is a penalty. If you traffic children and do the worst type of crimes against children, that has a penalty. If you commit lewd and acts with your father and brother, that has a penalty, right? If you steal weapons, smuggle oil, and all of this, um, if you kidnap even the worst criminal, instead of extraditing them and following the laws, and there is penalties to this, right? There's penalties. So, uh, uh, I think there's 468. I'm probably wrong on that one, but uh, laws and then case laws. Um, anyone can understand the medium-sized Bible, right? But the laws that we have in the nihilistic or the humanistic, of course, they fill buildings upon buildings upon buildings upon buildings, and no one can ever understand them, because it's just whatever you think your truth is. And then there's no accountability at all, because everything is always very chaotic. Everything is very corrupt, and so there is never ever an accountability, except for when it's a whistleblower, right? It's someone that challenges your criminal activity, and then you weaponize the system um, to go after your political enemies. It becomes a political retaliation. and or a retaliation just against someone that you don't like. So there's no justice there, right? It's just a lot of injustice. And so it's very clear with Richard's case that what happened to Rob Reiner is and his son, and um, that very brutal crime is comes from the same ideology that was allowed to fester and take over Fort Bliss and even in El Paso, and going over to Juarez in the leadership role. And of course, these leaders, they have the God complex. They want to be as God, right? They want to have, that's why you have so much theft in the money and of course, we know that the Chihuahuan governor of Mexico, Maru Campos, is now uh, confirmed, they confirmed with documents that she took the bribe money from Cesar Duarte, millions and millions of dollars, um, pesos and pesos. And of course, she's absolutely connected to another absolute atrocity, and that is the Plenitude Crematorium, narco crematorium. And of course, uh, she's also connected to the theft of billions. That's with a B, y'all. Billions of barrels of oil, of fuel, with Cesar Paneche, right? With Cesar Paneche stealing the people's fuel, and then selling it back to the people. So she's very, very criminal. And I think her days may be numbered. We'll see. We live in this very woke, progressive. Everybody can make up their own law. Everyone can, bend this here and bend that there, and then we don't have the prosecutors. They don't even take a chance with the prosecutors. We have Beno Montoya, right? We have Carlos Manuel Salas, who lives in El Paso. We had Cesar Paneche, who is living right now in Texas. We have Cesar Haragi, who's on the list of Cesar Duarte's money. Again, his stolen his bribe money. And so on both sides of that border, because they're one big Siamese sister city, right? They're just like Siamese twins. Um, and we don't have the prosecutors. And so people are like, why aren't we getting accountability? Oh, they're just going to get away with it. They're just going to get away with it. No, we need prosecutors, and then they won't get away with it, right? So why don't we have prosecutors? That's the good question, right? And so that's what President Trump is asking right now with this blue slip deal, right? With the oh, what do you call it? It'll come to me. Um, um, uh, it's just tactics where they can block his appointments to uh, the benches, and also as prosecutors. And so the filibuster, that's what I wanted to say. The filibuster, we'll see. I don't, claim to know, and I don't have a position on that. I just know that his prosecutors and judges are being blocked, are being delayed, or really they're being blocked, right? From taking their position. And so that's why, we have all of this evidence, all of this evidence, and so many different cases, including Richard Halliday's, and we don't have the prosecutions. So it was really a beautiful day today to see John Bolton being indicted on 18 counts and going to face prosecution. So there's a few out there, not enough. And President Trump needs to be able to appoint his AUSAs, which is the federal prosecutors, and then we need to be able to have those federal prosecutors, absolutely. And I think Governor Abbott could do it all, right? Governor Abbott's very, very powerful, but he's on the side of what's that one lady's name that wants to run for senator? Um, uh, um, Crockett, right? Crockett. Don't be fooled at all. He's on the side of Crockett. He's on the side of Crockett, because let me tell you, um, Governor Abbott could absolutely, he has more than enough evidence to unseat these 5 judges on the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court and hold an election so that we have elected justices on that court. He could absolutely have um, pull the right strings to have James Bonneau Montoya arrested. He's absolutely an imposter. He's absolutely a usurper. He absolutely needs to be arrested. The same thing with Leilani Hart. The same thing with Tavita Nusa. Everything going on in Texas. Absolutely, if we had a good governor, would make all the difference. But um, Governor Abbott is a Crockett fan, okay? He's a Crockett fan all the way. She could say whatever she wants about him, and he will be rooting her on because he's compromised. He's absolutely compromised. So, this is, what but, it sounds so negative, but always remember that God has the hand. God has the upper hand. God has the true north. God has it. And it's going to be just hold on to your seats, buckle yourself in, because God is going to reveal all of this. It, he has brought us so far through these 5 years to have the in the line of duty, to have these letters from President Trump that confirm everything that we're saying is right. They are corroborating documents that say everything that we're saying is right. Uh, yeah, God is not going to bring us this far and then not bring it to the finish line. Okay. Uh, so that's um, he's the same thing with President Trump. And that's why you never ever give up. You never give up. And it's going to be in his timing, right? So it's his timing, and it's just been a miracle that we've come this far. The other, of course, you know, um, with the whole Charlie Kirk thing, uh, with Candace Owens, her investigation, which is incredible. And even with everything against her, the people are behind her. You see that the same thing with President Trump, all this stuff, the whole system against him, yet the people were totally behind him, are totally behind him. They see the mutiny, they see the obstruction of justice, and so they're totally behind him for all the work that he's doing. Uh, yeah, I think we are in for some real miracles, y'all. Some real miracles, acts of God all the way. And I hope one of them, I'm always on my knees praying that it will be that we get Richard's remains. That we get Richard's remains. That's my prayer. That's my Christmas wish, right? That we get Richard's remains and we give him peace, that we can give him peace. Um, Thank you so much, everybody. I think that the next person to be arrested will be General Kelly, and I should talk about him just a little bit before I leave. General John Kelly went to work for Maru Campos, right? And I'm probably repeating myself because I've told so many people this story. Uh, you know, he went to go work for Mexico. You're talking about a general on the recommendation from Woody Hunt and Paul Foster and Alejandro Foster. He went to go work for Mexico, and that his company who provides all kinds of beds and materials and everything you need for the migrant camps, did very, very well. Did very, very well. I think that um, time to hold him accountable for those bad acts, really, really bad acts, and just think about it, but please share the uh, the posts that we have. I can use all the help I can get with this media, right? That we have to be the media for our son's case. Absolutely, any help that we can get from you for sharing, sharing, sharing. And I know, Laura, you do a lot of that sharing, and thank you so much for all your prayers and your love. Um, uh, that's how you drive them to do the right thing is you spread the word. You have the light, and this is a season of light, right? The light that shines in the darkness. This is the season for that. So let's do it. Let's do it. And I want to say thank you to everyone. God bless you, and I will be back tomorrow, God willing.